All right, so my favorite thing about most modern scientific calculators is the ability to work with fractions without having to do all of the algorithms that we have for adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing fractions. So we didn't have a ton of fraction math on our diagnostic, so we'll just go ahead and just do a couple of random things. Let's do like 5/4 plus 8/15, 5/6 minus 2/15. Let's do some multiplication. And let's do some division. I'll just go ahead and use these numbers as they are. Perfect. Cool. So let's just work with those problems. So the fraction button on this calculator is right here. You can press it at the beginning. You'll have a 5, and you'll need to use the down arrow to get into the denominator. And you have to use the over arrow to get out of the fraction. The other option is you can type in your numerator first, and then if you press this button, it'll make that the numerator. So that's a very cool trick, can save you some time. So what used to take a while now is super duper fast. Right? If we were to do this in a Math 36 class, we would have to go figure out our common denominators to do this. Now, if you're in a class that's higher than this, because I want these videos to be useful for everybody, you would need to potentially get common denominators and show work for that. So just as a heads up, you can always use the least common multiple to figure out what your common denominators need to be. So in this case, our two denominators are 4 and 15. If you want to see what your LCD is going to be, we're going to do, so 4, comma, 15, and it's going to tell me what the least common multiple of 4 and 15 are. Turns out it's 60. I can also use my answer over here to sort of get an idea of where I'm headed. So now I know I need to make 5/4 have 60 as a denominator. And if I'm not sure, I can even figure out what I need to multiply by. So 15/15. And 8/15, well, that's got to be 4/4. So if you're working in a different class, you could still go ahead and do this problem, right? You'd just be showing some, if you needed to show work for it, you'd be sitting there and going, okay, I got that. This is now, well, I can still use my calculator, hopefully. They haven't stolen it from me entirely. And I can add those together to get my 107/60, which was the original answer that we had. So anyways, that's how you can use it to just help you with the actual math by hand. In Math 92, however, we're just going to use this to do all of our math for us. Subtraction, same exact thing. Remember, type in your numerator, then press the fraction button. Go over, subtract, type in your numerator, fraction button. In this case, 6 and 5 have 3 in common, so your LCD is not going to be as big as 6 times 15. And we can see that when we go ahead and do that math. Ooh, simplifies to a 7/10. It's given us the simplest version of this answer, and we're done. Same thing with multiplication. Oops, I forgot to do that. That was my fault. So another thing you could do if you're really lazy, because I'm kind of lazy sometimes, you could do your fractions like this as division, because that's what a fraction represents. And it'll save you a little bit of time of clicking the over arrow and all that. The only issue is it will give you your answer as a decimal. But you can convert back. This little F arrow D goes back and forth between fractions and decimals, so you can just turn your answer into a fraction after the fact. So 2 ways to do that. You could have done 5/6 times 2/15, or you can do it just mathematically as 5 divided by 6 times 2 divided by 15, and then convert it to a fraction. Division's the same thing. You have your options. You can just, again, 5/6 divided by 2/15. This is 25/4. You can even throw your fractions into a fraction. So once I have this, I could do a fraction on the top and a fraction on the bottom. Crazy enough, but it'll still work. So it gives me 25/4. Or I could do what we did last time, which is just be lazy about it if I want to save myself the most keystrokes. Make my fractions into fractions by sort of just putting parentheses around the division. Say this is the whole thing, it's a fraction together. And then convert that back into a fraction in the end and get my 25/4. So those are your options in terms of working with fractions in the calculator.